Okay, we're live, and it's Sandra LaFlamme and Tom Saharkis with Fairway Funding. And the nice thing about this broadcast today is we're going to talk about negotiation. Tom and I have known each other for a long time. There's a lot of reciprocity. I'm a realtor, he's a mortgage broker. And in that reciprocity is we're not handing people back and forth, we're actually making transactions work. And every month or every week now, different elements of a transaction will make something work or not work. A couple years ago, we would, in a mortgage, ask a seller to pay points and closing costs for our VA and FHA clients. We can't do that anymore, Tom, can we?
It's a lot more difficult because the market's more of a seller's market than a buyer's market. There's just not a lot of inventory out there, so the sellers are very picky in what they're paying for.
Yep, and that tide changed pretty quickly. When did you see it happen for you on your end?
Right after the first of the year.
Okay, and I understand in this quarter, up to this quarter, this year, we've done $2.1 trillion in mortgage underwriting and refinancing. These mortgage market reports that come through have some pretty strong numbers when it comes to what's happening in the mortgage business. What do you see mostly that are people, you probably this month are going to close a bunch of refis and a bunch of origination. What do you see are people's biggest concerns?
Well, first, I'm going to be honest with you. Most of my business is purchases right now.
Okay.
We're not a big refi shop, and the purchases are just overwhelming. I mean, I've been putting in 14-hour days, 5-6 days a week, and it's gone to 7 at some point. We're seeing people buy houses, a lot of first-time home buyers, people buying up, solid buyers, people with down payments. You know, we're not seeing a lot of grant money. We're not seeing a lot of bond money. The only concern I have is that I don't think people are taking it serious enough when they're making offers. They're thinking they have time and they can go back and forth and this and that, and that's not the case. You need to go in, show you're serious, make your offer, work it out, and you're done. You don't have 3-4 days to think about it.
No, and a buyer who comes to the table and they're not ready, they're obviously not working directly with Tom and I, because that's the first thing we're talking to them about. So in plain English, when you're getting them ready to make a decision, what are you doing to help them get there and make a decision?
Well, the first thing I do is when a realtor or somebody like yourself refers them to me is I pre-qualify them. And then I make sure they've got all their documents in a row, so when we're ready to go, we're ready to go. And I try to emphasize to them how serious this is and how it's something they need to jump on. If they see something they like and they want to make an offer, they've got to do it now. They can't wait a couple of days, a week or two, and hope it's still going to be there. It won't be. It'll be gone tomorrow. And
that means choosing your maybe top 30 choices or top 3 neighborhoods, narrowing it down based on square footage, price, amenity. Almost everyone now wants a pool, don't they?
That's right. And you want to make sure when you're going to look at these houses, you've already spoken to somebody like me who's going to tell you what you qualify for, what you don't, which basically you need your financing in place. You need to have talked to somebody before you go look at a house.
Before you go look at the house, before you even shop a neighborhood, because you want to be prepared to make a decision. And these aren't difficult decisions. These are all homes that are going to pass a 5-point inspection. In our marketplace, we're really good about preparing sellers. Or if, as an example, it's not going to pass a 5-point inspection, we're going to want to sell it to a handyman. So exactly. Your buyer is not the handyman special. Your buyer is a person who's going to believe this home passes a 5-point inspection, mortgage origination, should not be slowed up either. We have 30-day contracts, and that's why I'm talking to Tom, because he knows everyone in the process, no excuses. He knows the underwriters, no excuses will be given. If he tells you this will close in 30 days, now how exactly are you able to make that when so many other professionals right now are missing their closing date in the mortgage industry?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you, 30 days is a little bit of a stretch right now.
Okay, right now. But you would say that up front to your buyer, wouldn't you? Today,
yeah, what I like to do is I like to prepare everybody for realistic expectations when they get into a loan. Like when I first talk to a buyer, I want them to know realistically what they can afford, not some fake number. And then when they do get ready to negotiate, I tell them, this is how much time you need to put on a contract. Right now, VA loans, you're probably looking at 60 days because the appraisal goes through the VA. We have no control over who gets it. And they're very slow. Conventional loans are running, and FHA are running 35 to 45 days because it's not just us that's involved. We've got underwriters, we've got title insurance agencies, we've got home inspectors, we've got appraisers we got to deal with, homeowners insurance, HOAs, we have to get estoppel letters, and everybody's just backed up right now. So if people go into this with unrealistic expectations, people get mad and they get very frustrated, and it makes the process a lot more difficult. If you go in and expect 45 days and you close it in 40, that's great. But if you tell them 30 and you close it in 40, that's terrible.
Excellent. So even right now, we're into the last 2 weeks where all of us writing contracts have to extend everything beyond 30 days. Even when you have the ability to know absolutely every person from soup to nuts in your underwriting process, don't you?
Yes. Yes. And part of it too is if the buyers are prepared and they get us the documentation we need up front and it doesn't come in piecemeal, what's made it more difficult is I like to meet with people face to face, and they come in and bring all their paperwork to me. The problem I'm running into now is when we're doing everything via internet, the urgency isn't there, and it's like we lose a couple days getting the paperwork, and then I got to go through it, and I got to see what's missing, then I got to ask them for more stuff because stuff's going to show up, and it's like a Russian doll. You open it up, you look at it, something's going to pop out. There's another one. So we try and stay ahead of that curve. It's like trying to hit a bullseye wearing a blindfold while the bullseye is moving.
Right.
So we lose about 3-4 days in there. So that's why I miss the face-to-face contacts. But with COVID right now, we don't have much of a choice.
Oh, and in the Florida contract, the Florida FAR contract, I believe it's line 56 or 57, right in there on condition for closing. If you have a closing date, let's say you and I have a buyer tomorrow and we write a closing date of 35 days from tomorrow, and we get within a couple of days, well, actually, you're going to tell me right off the bat, we're not going to make our closing date. Those contracts in Florida, the closing information provides for an extra 10 days. When you read it with meaning, you understand that it hinges on giving the mortgage underwriters, the appraisers, and everyone involved with that, and just federal disclosure. There's a 3-day, you got to have that federal disclosure to them 3 days before closing, don't you?
Well, we actually, yes, you have to have it 3 days before closing, but at Fairway, we do a little bit different. Once a loan's approved, the loan's locked in, we can do the 3-day CD at any point. So it could be done literally 2 or 3 weeks after we take the application. We don't have to wait till the last minute. Because again, on a purchase, we know what the loan amount's going to be. We know what the interest rate's going to be. We know what the term of the loan's going to be. And those things aren't going to change during the process of the loan. So it's easy to get it done early. A lot of companies, unfortunately, don't do it that way. We do it ahead of the schedule. So we're not stuck. But like you said, it's all dependent on a lot of third parties. Everybody's got to play their part. The buyer, the realtor, the mortgage company, the surveyor. There's another one, the survey. They're taking time too today. So everybody's kind of got to be on the same page. So when I go into a deal with the customer, I kind of have a feel of, the way the current is going. And so based on the way the current is going, I can advise the realtor and their customer of how long to ask for. For example, I just picked up a $3 million purchase. It's a jumbo loan. One thing about jumbo loans is they require that big 2 appraisals and a second level review. So the realtor's like, can we close in 30 days? I said, no, it's more like 60 because it goes through 2 reviews with 2 appraisals. So again, because I'm familiar with the current and the way it's going, I can set realistic expectations. And then the nice thing about having people to work with like you is that we all know how each other works. It's like the truck drivers, the best place to eat food, where the best food is. So as long as we know how each other works, it makes it so much easier. And then the customers are happy.
Oh boy, that's such a good analogy, because oftentimes we find we might be working with somebody who the last time we came through their truck stop as the professional on the other side, they weren't that efficient. So it puts us all on guard that we kind of have to do heavy lifting on our side, doesn't it?
It does, and that's the beauty of our business. Everything we've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And by the way, I learned that saying in Iowa.
Oh, right. Yeah, shout out to Iowans. And Tom, is it your father? Were you born in Greece, or your father immigrated from Greece and you go there every year because he still lives there?
Yeah, Dad was born in Greece. Mom was born here. I was born here. And Dad still lives in Greece. He's 94 years old, and he's doing very well. He's enjoying a good life.
And do you FaceTime with them to stay in contact?
Yes. Yes, we do.
My mom doesn't FaceTime. That's cool that your dad in Greece FaceTimes. How much Greek do you speak?
Oh, I went to Greek school for 7 years, 8 years.
Okay, we'll play Greek school words with you the next time we're on. So as a negotiation point, when a buyer is preparing to do a good job and having their offer accepted, yeah, sometimes they're competing with somebody in a cash position, but if they're very organized up front and very thorough, what else do you suggest that buyer, if they're going to compete with a cash buyer, what should they do to prepare themselves to get the property that they want in negotiation?
Well, the first thing they got to do is they got to be serious in their offer. I mean, they can't go in, 20% below market price. I mean, I'm not a realtor, but I know that. I think the biggest thing I've seen with buyers is the two things: is the lack of urgency and the lack of seriousness, and people pick up on that. If you're going to dilly-dally and make an offer and another cash offer comes in, if somebody else has their ducks better in a row than you do, doesn't matter whether they're cash or they're financing, they're going to get the deal. You've got to go in and you've got to be serious about what you're doing. You can't be kicking the tires. And sellers pick that up. They're very sensitive to that.
And who wants to work with a buyer that's just kicking the tires? There's too much going on right now for all of us we don't want to disrespect any buyer anywhere in the pipeline and where they are. But if they can prepare themselves, the reason why this market is so robust, it's not just the amenities, but there's a lot of jobs, and there's around Fairway Funding in your Lakewood Ranch office, there's a whole new additional town being built at Lakeshore.
That's right, Lakeshore National.
Just amazing amount of corporate presence here with jobs that are coming in, and the high price in Sarasota County was out at the new construction last week at $600,000, and each week, if we told the high price in the county, it'd always be something on the water for about $5 or $7 million. But all around each week, we have 12 to 50 new construction closings and 300 closings a week in Sarasota and then in Manatee. That's 600 total closings in both counties every 7 days. It's a lot of activity. That's a lot of people moving here. And I know you have a piece of what's going on with that, Tom. I appreciate your time today. Do you have any extra negotiation ideas that you want to give the buyer to get prepared?
Just have your ducks in a row and be serious about your offer, and go with a reputable local lender. Stay away from the internet lenders. Stay away from the banks, because the banks and the internet lenders the internet lenders don't carry a lot of credibility, because they don't have that personal relationship like we do, where you can call me up anytime to find out what's going on and you'll get a straight answer. If you go to the big banks really treat the mortgage department like the redheaded stepchild. They only do it because they're required to by federal law. And a lot of realtors get a pre-qualification from a bank or even a pre-approval. If it comes from one of the big banks, they're not serious. But if you work with somebody that's local, that's known and has a good reputation, you'd be surprised if you come in with a lower offer with somebody that's reputable in town and you have a solid pre-qual, you could actually beat out a higher offer from a bank.
Isn't that the truth? Because the seller and the seller's agent can call you and get an answer on the phone that you actually pulled that tax return and pay stub, can't they?
Exactly, and they may have worked with you before. For example, I had one deal where the listing agent was not very pleasant on the phone. They had multiple offers, and after we talked about it for about 3-4 minutes, it turned out that I did the seller's mortgage when they purchased the home 5 years ago. So because we talked to each other and we spent a few minutes getting to know each other, guess what? Our offer got accepted and we weren't the highest priced offer.
Wow.
He just felt the most comfortable with it.
Because he knew you could do the deal, and all the people behind you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you.
We're probably going to talk about that a whole lot more in the coming weeks if you have time to do that, because I see a lot of buyers not understanding the very points that you just brought out. It's a very big deal. Thank you, Tom.
I would love to. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. All right. And we are still live on Facebook, and I will end that. More I'm going to schedule. We're supposed to be Thursday at 6 o'clock. And as I have an opportunity to teach about these negotiation points that are relevant in our market in Florida, it's also relevant everywhere else in the United States. And when you're working with somebody, active transaction Up front, we're going to want to prepare you to all the things that matter in this market. And I've been around here for 20 years, and with the platform of how I do business, I'm able to provide information directly to you to equip you to make a decision in your comfort zone. So when you feel comfortable and confident about making that move, I can help you make that move even by Thanksgiving, by Christmas, by New Year's, by Valentine's Day, and putting that together up front for you in a way that helps you make the number one most difficult or stressful single financial decision. There's lots of stressful decisions, but because you don't buy and sell a home, usually probably more than every 4 or 5 years and maybe every 10 years, and the people that we're selling to now are probably going to stay where they are for the next 15 or 20 because the amenities and everyone making sure they're close to family. We can make sure that's a great decision based on everything that's growing in the next 5, 10, and 15 years. So a top-notch realtor like myself in any market, anybody on my team, anywhere in the market will be able to equip you with that information. And as we get on a schedule, we're all working so many hours, if we get on a schedule where we can have a specific time, normally it'll be Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we'll look to answer your questions ahead of time and be available for any live questions. You have a great day. I'm Sandra LaFlamme with eXp Realty, and thanks for tuning in.